Yet another deadly terrorist attack has shaken the world. This time happening in Britain, this time with a car as the main weapon. This time the alleged perpetrator was known to the police and had a history of affiliation and promotion of Islamic terrorism. And this time the reaction from the Muslim world was instant and visible, with the live stream on Al Jazeera English showing that their viewers, the people who really like to watch Al Jazeera's English publication, were laughing. That's right, they were all laughing at the dirty kafir that just got run over. They were mocking the people lying on the ground, bleeding and dying. Well, according to all the biggest celebrities, this kind of action is un-Islamic. This is not what you would find in the Quran. Just listen to the message of peace and tolerance we get from that beautiful, peaceful book.
Our organisation is guided by a verse from the Quran. To save one life is to save all of humanity. We have saved more than 82,000 Syrian lives.
To save one life is to save all of humanity. I wonder if this was the line of the Quran that Lily Allen, some British celebrity slag, had running around in her head when she visited the migrant jungle of Calais before it was torn down. She interviews one of Calais' famous migrant children and cries from this terrible story, apologizing to him on behalf of the United Kingdom.
The English, in particular, have put you in danger. We've, bombed your country, put you in the hands of the Taliban, and now putting you at risk, risking your life to get into our country. That seems... I apologise on behalf of my country. I'm sorry for what we've put you through.
Imagine my shock when I found out that this poor little migrant child that some drugged-up celebrity hack is apologizing to on behalf of her entire nation is actually the child of an Islamic terrorist. The 49-year-old was a commander in the Islamic group Hizb-ul-Islami, led by the Butcher of Kabul. He spent 7 years living on benefits in Birmingham before his claim for asylum was accepted in September 2012. He then went back to Afghanistan on holiday, flying in via Pakistan for the first of 2 3-month visits to the very country that had put him in fear of his life. It's obvious that living off the government dime runs in his family. The only question left is whether or not being an Islamic terrorist also runs in the family. But at least you Hollywood scum still have your pretty little Quran with all your pretty little quotes that you bash the rest of us common folk over the head with, telling us how Islam is such a peaceful religion. Well, this is how Saudi Arabia treats its migrant workers. In 2015, a migrant worker from Sri Lanka was sentenced to death by stoning for the crime of adultery, while her male partner was sentenced to only 100 lashes. But Hollywood's reaction to this disgusting, festering boil of barbaric attitudes is to give them a platform on which to browbeat Americans for our inhumane treatment of migrants. There was even a moment during the Oscars when they gave an award to some Iranian director for some film or another. The director chose not to show up to the Oscars to receive his award in order to stand in solidarity with his countrymen that were denied access to the United States from Donald Trump's temporary migration ban. Instead, someone read a note written by him condemning the United States' inhumane treatment of Iranian citizens. He has given a platform to browbeat the United States on our so-called inhumanity. Iran. Fucking Iran, the country that openly practiced a special form of violence against its political prisoners, is being given a platform to speak against America for our apparent violation of their liberties. I mean, really, who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do these scumbag celebrities think they are? In 1979, women in Iran flooded the streets to protest against the inhuman imposition of Islamic law that forced them to wear the hijab in public. And today, we're told that Islam is a feminist religion.
Excuse me, Islam to me is the most feminist religion, right? We got equal rights well before the Europeans.
Well, Yassim Abdel-Magid, your upper-crust bourgeois champagne socialist perspective that Islam is a feminist religion to you is disgusting and disingenuous. Your feminist religion is responsible for 500,000 women in the United States being at risk of a forced clitorectomy, with over 150,000 children having already undergone this practice. Or there's this story of Sameem Ali, who was shipped by her British family to Pakistan when she was 13 years old and forced by her family to marry a man more than twice her age. Despite her having attempted to kill herself while in Pakistan, she was shipped back to the United Kingdom and forced to bear his child in order to increase the likelihood that her new husband would be able to immigrate to the United Kingdom. Her story is just one of 11,000 reported instances of honor crime in the United Kingdom, which includes forced marriages and female genital mutilation. And Islam is a feminist religion. Then there's the case of Kandel Balak, who was at one time in an abusive forced marriage. He tortured me day and night during the 1 year I was married to him, Kandel told the Express Tribune. After a year, I ran away with my son and sought refuge in Dural Aman. Her ex-husband had at one point apparently tried to throw acid on her. She later became somewhat of an internet sensation and received an avalanche of hatred for exposing a mufti who was not properly following Ramadan. And after this hatred and embarrassment, her brother drugged her and strangled her to death in an honor killing. In Pakistan, 1,000 honor killings just like this one happen every year, and Islam is a feminist religion. There have been 450 acid attacks in the city of London, and Islam is a feminist religion. You see, I don't need to read the Quran to know that Islam is a cancer on the world. I just need to look at the history of Islam. The Saracen conquest of Europe stopped by Charles Martel in the Battle of Tours in 732 AD, a stone's throw away from Paris. Or at the gates of Vienna in 1683, where John III Sobieski turned the Ottoman Empire away from the heart of Europe, finally ending an encroaching campaign of expansion. Then there's the matter of the Islamic slave trade, with some historians estimating 10 to 20 million slaves delivered via the Trans-Sahara route alone, while other books describe 80 million black people dying en route to the Arab slave market. And there's the fact that Arab slaves were typically castrated before sale between the age of 8 and 12, with 6 out of every 10 boys bleeding to death. This pales in comparison to the paltry 388,000 slaves that were sold in North America. This is the violent, racist, and sexist history of Islam, a history that's repeated every day in Islamic societies around the world, a history that's worshipped and enshrined in the Quran and the Hadith, a history that Muslims around the world want to reinstate and reinvigorate with Sharia law. You celebrities will never have to fear the encroachment of Islamic terrorism in your gated communities, your all-white private schools, your million-dollar mansions and townhomes. You will never have to feel afraid to go out at night due to a rise in crime from Islamic migration. You will never have to worry about your daughter's or sister's safety from a religion that condones sexual violence. You will never have to fight against the rising tide of Islamic political power as Muslims turn to their own parallel communities and societies and extend their religious fervor into every corner of secular government that they can reach. You will never have to face the consequences for opening the gates of our civilization. It won't be you run down like a dog from an Islamic truck of peace and tolerance. It won't be your children preyed on by Muslim gangs. It won't be you killed in a bomb at an airport, a school, or a shopping mall. And yet here you are, spreading your legs like the whore of Babylon. And the best part about it is that this lie, this disgusting lie about the nature of Islam is so easily debunked by simply reading the Quran. That quote, that wonderful little quote that you love to spew, has a second part. Yes, it's true. Quran verse 532 says that to save one life is to save all of humanity. However, Quran 533, the very next verse, the verse that these virtue-signaling scum don't want you to read, says that indeed the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and strive upon this earth to cause corruption is none that they be killed or crucified, or that their hands and feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That is for them a disgrace in the world, and for them in the hereafter is a great punishment. According to Ismail ibn Kathir, an Islamic scholar who lived during the 14th century, waging war against Allah or causing corruption in the land is disbelief and acts of disobedience against Allah, which according to the Quran deserves crucifixion, torture, or exile. But you don't have to look through the great annals of time to find interpretations of the Quran that espouse these terrible ideas. You don't have to look very far to find imams who preach the literal interpretation of the Quran as truth. You simply have to look at Europe today to find this cancer festering beneath the surface of society.
En som brenner Koranen, ifølge islam, da straffen døden. Det riktig?
حرق القرآن للإهانة نعم بالتأكيد